Hi everyone, we're here with Uncle Peter again today, and today we've decided to have a chat about our grandfather and Uncle Peter and my dad and his father, Mick Flynn. Because none of us know, we don't know too much about Mick Flynn because we didn't meet him. We obviously had a lot to do with Granny, but we didn't know much about Mick Flynn. So Uncle Peter, take us from your childhood with Mick. Tell us all about Mick Flynn, what you can remember of, I guess, what was he like as a father? Was he loving? Did he joke with you? You know, what? Just give us an idea of his personality.
Right, well, yes, it's a difficult thing to know where to start sometimes when you're talking about a person who was your father. He was a very busy person. He had to milk morning and afternoon. He used to get up at around about 5 o'clock, light the fire for us. We used to, when I used to get up later on early, about 5 or half past 5, he'd always have toast there. Or if everybody slept in, he'd take his bucket of tea up the yard.
So he was up first.
He was always up first.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. He used to. I don't think Granny got up early, if I remember.
Okay.
But and he
put
was.
toast on and tea. So he had toast and tea.
He always had his. He never had milk or sugar. He always had his black tea.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yes,
Live on a dairy farm and have no milk in your tea.
Right, that's right. So he was. Well, when I was very young, as you know, I was born pre-War One.
You were 30, what's your birthday again?
22nd of June 1938.
That's it, 38.
38. So, yeah, 38. If you put those figures back to front, I'm now 83.
Oh, there you go.
So, but in those days, when we started off, our main thing was to sleep out. And we had 3 or 4 beds in there that I remember, or maybe, yeah. Mike was there at least until he was in grade 1. I think he went to Manderson when he was in grade 2. Of course, the first big thing I remember is Mike leading me astray by walking up the road.
No.
When he was about 3 and I was about 1.5. And my father used to love telling that story.
Did he?
He really did, because he used to go into raptures telling us how he saved us. He went down to the dam first to check out that we weren't drowned. Boy, that could have been on the go. But he used to love telling the story how he got the horse, and he had the dog, and he was following the footsteps, and his head was down, and his body language.
Like being a tracker.
Yeah, that's what he was. His body language was down. The dog was following behind the horse. Suddenly, he's following it along, and suddenly the horse showed its head in the air, and there was myself and trudging along behind Mike.
Where were you?
We were approximately about 100 metres in front of where the boys, where the Mononhagen, the house.
Oh, Greg and Charlie's house, which would be about 500 metres or so from the house. Would that be something like that? So you decided to go take yourselves for a walk. You followed Dad.
Well, that's what
Dad
I just followed him. And, he was the trigger by which I was saved.
Well, that's what younger siblings do, isn't it? Follow their older siblings around. So he used to get great joy in telling that story about saving you and Dad when you'd gone missing and gone walkabout.
Well, he delighted in telling Mike and I that story a number of times as we went through the years. But that was a fascinating story. He was interesting. He was a very good father. He often told the stories, always ghost stories actually. He tried to scare the hell out of us. He succeeded most of the time.
Was that at night time he was
It was
telling
always
those?
at night time.
So when he was putting you to bed, like did he put you to bed? Did he lie with you or anything? Or
I can't remember him doing that but he must have been tired after working morning and afternoon milking, and then possibly between milkings. So he wouldn't have been too energetic, you would have thought. But to his credit, this is a big one I think that he did it, and it was the trigger which made me do it. And that was that he got up to us. He was the only one that got up to us during the night.
really?
So if somebody wanted us to call out, or were scared, or were in trouble, we wet the bed, or whatever it might be, he would come up and service us. Granny would say, Meg, they're calling you.
Really? That's unusual, isn't it? Like, why do you think Granny didn't get up to you?
Well, Lindsay didn't get up for our kids, actually. She used to shake me. But then she did a lot of work running the house, I suppose, in Korean. I can remember that. And I didn't mind doing it, actually.
I guess when you think about it, the mother does most things with the children.
They do everything during the day. They do an unbelievable amount, you know. They do have, when I reflect at this stage of life, they're watching they've got the children under the pump from about 7 in the morning till about at least 7 at night.
Yes, that's true. So it was.
I come home but possibly I wouldn't have even thought about it, except my father did it, and he was very good. He was excellent at that, and he was good a storyteller. That storyteller came to bite me once when I was teaching at Nala my first year. I had this beautiful girl in grade 3. She was dux of the class, and somewhere in third term I got this letter. Could you please stop telling ghost stories? Because my beautiful daughter just can't sleep.
That's very funny.
That was a bit embarrassing.
That is very funny. Do you remember any of those ghost stories? You probably don't remember them now, do you?
No, well, I'd jazz them up a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
The house was rocking, and then we didn't know what it was, and after I prolonged the whole thing, and it was saying something like a gate under the building was shaking, and was rubbing its back against the thing. But I revved it up. I revved it up beautifully at this Nala school one day, so much so that my top student, who I felt terrible, was so bad she couldn't sleep at night.
Oh, that is very funny, actually. Do you remember, because we were told ghost stories, the room behind the kitchen there was a room, and
yeah, that's true. I remember that, yes.
Often when we went there we must have been told ghost stories too, so whether it was handed down, or whether we just did it as kids, about someone got engaged once and they weren't allowed to marry, and there was so we don't know any of that. No. Okay. So let's go. So Mick.
But that same room adjacent to the kitchen was where their workers lived. That was a sleeping room for them.
Ah, the one behind the kitchen.
Yeah, the one behind the kitchen.
Okay, I didn't realise that.
Because the opening, of course, was into the dining room there, the big long dining room.
Yeah, that's true.
And
yes. So Uncle Peter, so judging by that, he was a very loving. Like if he joked around with you and he got you breakfast and things like that. So he sounded like he was a loving father. Would you call him a loving father, or?
Yes, he was. We lived in an era where we didn't hug our parents really.
Yes.
Which was possibly not good, but and.
Did they give you a kiss or anything ever, or that just wasn't done, sort of thing? No,
I think it was done. I think we learned more to throw our arms around Granny at the table there, because it wasn't sort of the done thing in those days.
Yes.
But things have changed for the better since then.
But I guess he showed his love by joking with you and things like that.
That's more to it's the care that they do for you, and people who don't think about life tend to minimise that side of things because they maybe I've minimised them. Who knows? because it's important. It's the fuel which keeps you going, really. And you don't, if you take my life, Lindsay was brilliant at giving me the great cooking all her life, and sometimes you can minimise those extra things that they do, really.
Which is a sort of it's a display of love, really, isn't it? As well, cooking for those that you love, and
it's very important that you think about that, and I think a lot of counsellors should emphasise that side of life.
Oh, that's a good point. And Uncle Peter, let's go back to what he did. So he was the main farm person. He did. So can you explain to us what his routines were on the farm? His job, I guess.
He'd get up at 5 o'clock. He'd light the fire for a start. Get sure the fire in the coldest winter mornings, because it might be frost outside. He would go out to the cold. I don't know. That probably made it a bit worse, but he was certainly warm. We all warmed our hands in front of that fire, that wood stove.
The Jamboomba is cold.
Wood stove? Where did that go to, that wood stove?
I don't know the answer. That's Tarsissy, that one, but Jamboomba is certainly very cold in winter, I have to say.
It is a cold place.
Often wondered how we survived growing up there.
So we, and when I was about 12, 11, I think, that might be grade 6 or 5 or 6, I used to go get the cows in the morning on the cold mornings. So I used to put them in out in Lawson's for about 6 weeks in the winter time. I used to go, but there was no traffic at all. Stockley Road wasn't bitumen, so it was fairly easy.
So it was pretty easy to take them across.
It was pretty
In fact,
easy.
even in our day, we took the cows across the road too.
Yeah.
But that stopped pretty soon after so maybe 79 we were still doing it when we turned up.
Yeah.
But then I think it stopped pretty quickly after we turned up.
Yeah, there wasn't much traffic in the 50s, that's for sure. But so, and then we went up the yard, so I'd get the cows, he'd put things together. He did teach me, I used to put things together at times too, so we were well taught at putting all the parts together for the vat, and put the hot water, what we used to put in the water, to put to the machines. What's that chemical again? It's chloride, anyway.
Oh, okay.
Hydraulic chloride. Acid.
Hydrochloric acid, maybe.
Yeah, hydrochloric
okay,
acid.
sure.
So we had to put that through. We had to make sure that the boiling was hot, water was hot, and to get the cows. So
how did he get the cows, or you via horse, or you collected them all?
We always had a horse in the horse paddock.
And did he ride the horses himself a lot, or?
I actually didn't see him, because there was a lot of that time where we had a person with us, a boy with us sometimes, and you've got to remember that probably when I was at school, of course, he would have that with him, and I suppose that's why I probably have to go up the yard, push the cows, but I probably didn't go up there till about grade 4, I think that's 7 or 8, and then we stayed up there. When I went to Nudgee when I was 13 and a half.
So maybe you really, from your perspective, were with him up till 13 and a half, and then when you're on holidays, when you came home from Nudgee, you might have helped him in the holidays possibly?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we used to always go home in the holidays. And we used to help him then. We used to go, we'd go down and do some fencing and do things.
Was he handy? Was he good at fixing and building?
Well, he probably wasn't really, but we didn't know that at the time. But he I think he had a go at things, but he never did the car servicing. So if he was handy, he would have done the service in the car, I think. So we had that Dutchman up at the desert who did things, did the car services. I can't think of his first name at the moment. But so he was but he did do a lot of. When you're by yourself or something like that, you got to realise that. When you look back, it's not easy, although he might have had somebody there. I don't know, the guy who was there a long time was this guy called Neville Tyman, and he used to have a motorbike himself, and then he had an old he was quite a nice person actually. I remember one time there, he was sick in our house for about 4 months. Didn't go out, he just couldn't get out of bed.
Is this Neville? Or
Neville,
right?
yeah. So he couldn't do any work there, but
And
yeah, they recognised what a nice person he was, and it was nice.
And tell us about your father's music, because he was a dancer and a singer, wasn't he? What was his?
Yes, he was. He liked to sing, that's for sure.
Do you remember him singing a lot? Is that a memory of yours?
Yeah, it is. He would, but he wouldn't sing a lot. He'd sing a song, a Danny Boy, or I'll Take You Home Again, Kathleen, or something, an Irish song.
Mum's memory of, because she only met him briefly actually when, because he died not long after Mum met him, and she remembers coming to the farm and him singing to Granny, I'll Take You Home Again, Kathleen, while she was playing it. Mum has that memory.
Right, well, that's nice. It's nice that she's got that memory.
Yeah, she does, yeah.
I haven't. We used to have the music going in the yard, as you know. You would have experienced that with the radio.
Yeah, the dairy, yeah.
With the Western songs in the morning.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And of course, when it rained, we used to have to go up to our knees in bog, getting the cows in even. So, and then the feeding of the calves, we all used to love that.
Yeah, I loved it myself.
Feed the calves.
Yeah.
We always did go through that branding thing too, the dehorning of cows, through in the yard.
Did all of you go? Like you talking about you going, do you remember Uncle Barry going and Uncle Kerry and Auntie Mari being there as well? And obviously Dad wasn't there a lot at that point, but do you remember going?
I don't remember too much, but Barry would have taken my place. So.
Yeah.
And I was 2 years ahead of him at the start. So he would have played his role in helping my father, I'm sure. My father and Badgie clashed a bit. Sometimes I think about that.
In what way do you think?
Well, I think they had similar expertises. They were both very muscular. They were both reasonable at gymnastics. My father was probably better. He used to whoop in his hands.
Really?
Yeah, well, he had that reputation, you know. Terry Begley, that's Caswell's father, used to get him going in the hall. He used to walk across the hall, you know, sometimes, especially during certain things up there, meetings or something. Terry Begley, I think. Who knows, he might have had a few drinks before he started to do anything. But anyway, Terry Begley would tell the world about his exploits. And so he was, and I think he was in the gymnastics at Nudgee. It was a bit of gymnastics, but I can't see any records of that. I should try to find out if in fact there was a annual put out during his time. I've never seen it.
Wow, so, because I hadn't realised, you told me just beforehand that, I don't think I knew that he went to Nudgee as well. So did he go to Nudgee in grade 11 and 12, as do you think?
He would have went to Nudgee in grade 9 maybe, for about 6 months.
Oh, okay, so he possibly didn't go very long.
Didn't go very long.
Yep.
I don't think. No, and rumour has it, I say rumour, it's alleged that this is Granny and Mick combined. You wouldn't know what's right, but that he got a scholarship to Nudgee when it actually was put aside for Morris. Now that's not a very nice thing to say. So what the allegation was that Morris was the favourite, Mick wasn't. On the grandmother's side, on my grandmother's side.
Which would be Hannah Roach.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Right.
And that he was supposed to get it, but somehow Mick got. Now, how could that possibly be? There was a few years difference between them.
So Morris was younger by a couple of years, was he?
Yeah, that's what I gather.
And so Morris possibly went on to Nudgy to finish Nudgy, possibly.
Well, he didn't go. He didn't get there.
Oh, right.
So who knows?
So we
But
don't
certainly, I don't think my dear father made the use of the scholarship proper.
Right.
If he did get a scholarship.
Do you wonder why? What would have been the reason he would have got a scholarship for? Do you know?
No,
We don't know
I have
those
no
details.
idea.
Okay.
I've only heard. I was here when I listened to them talking about it, but it wouldn't have meant much to me
No.
at the time.
That is interesting, isn't it?
And that's why I just say it's a legend. I don't like to even put it down as a record that
Because you're not sure. You've just heard
because
talk.
it could be just.